Pastor Mai, everyone, and welcome to the last of my 3 monthly wrap-ups for 2015. This one covers July, August and September. And we probably better get started. So, the first book is Les Poisons de la Couronne, with the English translation The Poisoned Crown, which I stopped reviewing them on Goodreads at this point, the English translations, because they were taking away from my reviews of French ones. Further adventures in the lives of the French royal family in the early 14th century. Good fun. Good fun. The fact that there's, spoilers in the title, someone's queen got strangled this time, there's some poison going around, it's great. Very good fun. After that, I read a translation of a Japanese novel, Beyond the Blossoming Fields, which is about the first female doctor in Japan. Very interesting subject, and not something that I knew anything about, so that was quite enjoyable. Then we have this. Now, this is definitely a bit... Stories about the Knights Templar. Right, great. Not something I would normally really want to go within 1,000 miles of, but this particular series by Michael Jex, the main character of this one, Templar Zeka, is also in the rest of his series, and the rest of the series is set during the same kind of time period as Les Rois Maudits, so it seemed like they would complement each other quite well as things to read side by side. However, I haven't actually bought any more of this particular series, so the idea didn't really work out. It was perfectly fine, but just the idea wasn't going anywhere, obviously. Then I read Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, which it was also a film a few years ago. I really liked this. This was great. I like the interesting structure. I like the way that he deals with a lot of sort of like different, you could call them different genres, all in the one book. I think Frobisher is my favourite person in the world, although without him it would probably have been Sixsmith, because I do feel very sorry for him. I'm amazingly predictable, as you can tell. This is a great book, and everybody should read it. And I immediately went and bought some more David Mitchell. After that, we've got a non-fiction book, actually. A history of the Low Countries. It's sort of an introductory work which covers about 2,000 years of the Netherlands and Belgium and Luxembourg, and it's very much a general thing which just introduces you to the sweep of events. It doesn't go into too much detail. It can't, in this small number of pages, it cannot cover 2,000 years of history in full detail. But obviously it gives you a guide, and then you can go and look up whatever seems to be interesting for yourself. One of the criticisms I noticed in a review of it was that it seemed quite academic. Palgrave Macmillan is an academic publisher. Of course it's going to be academic. I don't know what they were expecting. But, well, we all know that idiots review things sometimes. I'm sure we've all seen some. After that, we've got the best book I have read all year. I did an entire separate video reviewing The Spring of Caspar Meyer. I think everybody should read this book, even more so than anything else that I'm going to tell you that you should read. This is the best. Read it. Everybody read it. Everybody buy it. Everybody worship it. It is great. I love it. And then I finished off the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which this is Dreams of Gods and Monsters. It's the last one. It was a bit... I think it wasn't quite as good as the second one, but overall pretty good. I did enjoy the trilogy, so you know, I'll be looking out for more stuff by Laini Taylor in future. At this point, I then finished another trilogy with the last of the Herald Mage ones, and Vaniel does more angsting, and it's great. And I continue to say, if you like angsting, read these books. If you don't, don't. Since I have now finished 2 trilogies, it was time to start a new one with Captive Prince by C.S. Fakat. This was badgered at me by Lucy. She does a lot of that. But mostly the stuff is good, so it's fine. Yeah, this is good. I would say go and talk to her about that and she will make you read it. Then we've got the second book. I'm not sure whether this is a trilogy or more than a trilogy. So many trilogies this year. The second one in that series of sort of post-war mystery solving that I mentioned in the last video. Once again, the characters are great. They do some, the interactions between the characters is amazing, but some of the details needed a bit of tightening up. And then I picked this up basically because I knew I needed to read lots of thin books to catch up on the reading challenge this year. So I kind of picked this up at random. It's A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. And it's very short. It is 80 pages long. There are less than 10 real characters, and one of them is gay. So basically this sort of proved that it is absolutely possible to include queer characters in anything. And the next time someone tries to tell you that, oh, it's too hard, I couldn't possibly do that. No, fuck you. 80 pages and there's a queer character. Go away. Then we've got some more... moving on quickly. Then we've got some more non-fiction. The Edge of the World, a history of the North Sea region, sort of Northern Europe really, which is once again from sort of the, like right from the first years AD through to, I don't know if it actually goes into the present actually, I don't remember. Yes, it does come into the present. So it's another book which covers a huge span of time. So it can't really go into too much detail. It covers an awfully large geographic area as well, so it doesn't go into a huge amount of detail again. It was interesting. It was good to sort of cover all of this area, because it's not something which I think I have come across very much. You can easily do the history of Britain, and then what I've studied was sort of the history of Britain and Scandinavia up until 1200-ish. So the period from then on, and particularly from like more of the Low Countries in Germany and that, not something I've really studied. Didn't really know much about it, so this was good for that, as was the other one. That was why I got that. The only real criticism that I have for this is that he seems to get a bit carried away with his ideas sometimes, and doesn't quite keep an eye on the actual chronology of how these events happened. He seems to get a bit, oh, this, and then you think, well, actually, you're saying that a huge change had happened, but there's actually only like 5 years, so I don't quite see where you're coming from with that. But pretty good, anyway. And then we've got La Loi des Mâles, which is the 4th book in Les Rois Maudits, and has the English translation. And yeah, more adventures. People keep dying. It's great. Thoroughly recommended. Then I started another trilogy, as you can see, because I realised that I need to. I say I read a lot of fantasy, and then actually I mostly just mean Pratchett and Tolkien. So I needed to diversify a bit in terms of this lots of fantasy that I read. So we've got The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and this is a good book. It's really quite fat, but it was quite a quick read because it is so very enjoyable. I am particularly a fan of Bast. I think he's the coolest character. So yeah, I've got the second one. I've not read the second one yet, but I'm going to read that before the end of the year. Yeah, looking forward to reading more about them. And the last book for September was something which I sort of wanted to read, and I keep trying to read these kind of award-winning literary fiction things, and really all that this did was prove to me that I don't like them that much, unfortunately. It absolutely stands true that these literary fiction novels, which get nominated for all these awards and blah de blah, could just as easily, the genre could just as easily be renamed middle-aged straight white man has problems, doesn't really do anything about them. It felt kind of euthanized. Is that what I mean? Anesthetized? Want to be euthanized? Because just there's so much that happens, and yet you don't really feel like he feels much about it. So I wasn't terribly terribly impressed with that one. So that concludes. I think from now on I will be doing monthly ones for the rest of the year, because we've got October and then we've not finished November yet, and we've got December as well. And I've got some ideas for little things that I could do with other books. So I might come up with some more videos which are slightly more interesting maybe than these quick, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's another thing. Yep. So look forward to seeing you in future. Please leave comments if you have any. Until next time.